We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 114. We've got 14 fights to talk about, so we got a lot to talk about today, and I forgot what I wanted to say, but we're going to get into it. I'll do a quick recap of last week. We'll go over that, and then we'll jump right into this card because, like I said, 14 fights. That's a lot. I don't know if we're going to keep all the fights. I feel like normally when we have so many, we end up I don't remember the last time we actually kept 14. Maybe it was relatively recent. I generally just don't remember. But either way, hopefully we keep them. We'll talk about them right now. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Always appreciate it. This show would be nothing without you guys. And I'll catch up with the chat first, especially because I saw some interesting comments in here and I didn't want to address them. And then we'll do the rest. So first off, what's up, Bill Fay? Couch bro, I love you and your analysis, but I really hope you had time to do tape study for most fights. No. Well, first off, I'll say you're not just one person. You guys are all very important. It doesn't matter that it's just you, or I'm sure other people share your feelings and opinion, and I get it. If I was watching somebody and I was watching their content, I would also want them to be fully taped. Unfortunately, I do work full time. I don't have, I'm not able to fully support myself with the show. That would be awesome, but I cannot. And with my betting and everything, that's not enough. So I do have a full-time job. I don't have the time sometimes to have everything done by Tuesday. And it does get tricky because I get what you're saying, that you wouldn't mind if they were later in the week. And I'm sure you wouldn't. But the way it works is the earlier you put out, the better, because most of the time, but by, let's say Thursday, Friday, the bigger channels, they've already posted, and most people are going to go and watch them at that point. So it is important for me to post early. It is important for me to do it earlier in the week. And it also just so happens that Tuesday is one of the best days for me, and it really works. And I've also been doing it on Tuesday, I think, pretty much since I started. And I don't really want to change that at this point because it's Couch Warrior Tuesday. That's how it is. But I will say, the second you said that, I wrote down on one of my little Post-it notes, I do think it's a good idea for me to maybe try. I don't think that I'm going to be able to do it every week because I also do my shorts, and the shorts are already kind of like a final pick, final say kind of thing, because those don't come out till Friday. And by Friday, I have already taped everything. So I already do the shorts, and I'm not going to be able to do this all the time, but I'm thinking maybe I'll start implementing a thing on the channel where I'll do like a last thoughts video, right? You'll have my face on there on the thumbnail. Maybe I'll be thinking. And I'll give you my last thoughts on the card once I fully taped it. And maybe if I do it Fridays are tricky. That's the problem. But if I was to do it Fridays, maybe I could do it after weigh-ins, and I can also talk about weigh-ins. We'll see. But I do appreciate the comment. I'm going to take it to heart. I am going to think about a way to deal with it, because I can't guarantee that I'm always going to be fully taped up by the time we get to Tuesday, because 14 fights, 13 fights, 12 fights, whatever, it's a lot. And you got to understand that's 12 to 28 fighters that I got to tape, and I don't like to half-ass things. But I'm going to try to come to a solution there, because I'm sure you're not the only one who's thinking that. What's up, Fukaya Sugma? What fights did he not take? Oh, okay. I'm sure there's plenty that he would have liked to hear my full opinion on. I definitely understand it. But all right, let's recap last card now, and then let's jump into this one. So last card was not great. Ended up losing 1.6 units tracked, but I also had a live bet that was given out to my guys at the House of Stims, and that was a live bet on Rob Font at plus 310, I want to say, for a half unit. So the total loss was 2.1 units. I was wrong on a lot and right only on very little, but I had Ricky Tercios money line plus 154, 1 unit. I really did not rate Montez whatsoever, and I'm coming around to him. I even said it in my notes leading up to that fight. I was like, I think my opinion was pretty harsh, and I have come around to him a little bit. I still doubted him pretty hard, enough to bet Ricky Tercios up a weight class, but I do think he's solid. I need to see a little more, but I do think that Montez is a good fighter. I had Font round 3 along with the live bet. the idea there was that Raul does get tired in a lot of his fights, and I did think he was going to get tired again, but he faced essentially no resistance from Rob Font, so that fell flat on its face. Okay, let me do the rest, and then I'll come back to that one. I had Tumen Dembrell round 2 and round 3. I passed on the money line at, I think it was around minus 135 when I was looking at it. And I did pass on it because I was like, he's probably going to lose the first round. I even said in multiple places that I'm fairly confident he's going to lose the first round. So I'm just going to live bet him and I'll take the 2-3. But he came out there and he won the first round, so that was kind of ruined. I couldn't get in live, and at that point, I only had the 2 and the 3, and he grappled more than I expected him to. I thought he would grapple just defensively. I didn't think he was going to try to go and offensively grapple Durden, so that hurt my bet, but I did think it was very impressive from Tumen Dembrell, especially considering that not too long ago, a couple years ago, he fought very close in a grappling affair against a Muay Thai striker in Tapnoy Kiram, and now he's out grappling Cody Durden. Not just out wrestling him specifically. So very impressive performance, but it did hurt my pockets. And then I had Muderji Aguilar. Fight goes the distance. That's the only bet that I did hit. Minus 134. Cash that for a unit. And then the one bet I said that I wanted to come back to was the Holloway Charles Oliveira. Fight doesn't start round 4. I bet that at plus 100 for a unit. That one just hurts a little bit because you guys can vouch for it if you watched my podcast last week, and anybody who spoke to me can vouch for it. I was talking about the value on Oliveira the whole time. I was saying how, guys, we don't know for sure. And again, look at the back of my video. I'm a huge Max fan, but I was saying I don't know for sure that Holloway can handle the grappling of Oliveira because he has not faced it in who knows how long, if ever. And I ended up being completely right with that take, but I didn't bet Oliveira. I only bet the fight doesn't start round 4. So a mistake, a very classic Mike mistake, but it's something that I can fix, and I'm gonna try to. So again, ended up losing 1.6 units tracked. 2.1 units was the total loss with the live bet, and then we'll jump into it. Let me catch up with Bill Fay over here. It seemed like a lot of the fights from last week came with the warning of no tapes. Oh no, I mean it's totally possible. I don't remember last week super well, but I believe you. I believe you. I know that sometimes I really don't have a lot of time, and sometimes I am lacking a little bit in the tape, but that's why I tell you guys, I'm not going to try to lie to your face and tell you, hey, here's this and this information, and I think this guy's going to win. If I didn't tape it, I think that's wrong. So I'd rather tell you guys, but I totally get where you're coming from, and I'll see if I can do like a last thoughts video. I think that's a good idea. I miss Goldie. What's up, dude? Are we breaking down the card? I also made... Nice. Good bet. I thought about the Barrio decision. I thought about the fight goes the distance. I ended up leaving it alone because I felt like Barrio could knock him out, and I felt kind of vindicated in that thought in the first round. But then Barrio, he gassed. Like, I feel like he gassed pretty hard, and I know he won, but I did feel like he gassed, and I was a little bit surprised by that. I didn't really expect that. I didn't really think he had any cardio issues, so that was interesting. But anyways, that's it. That's the recap. We spoke about the comments. Let's jump into the card. Please, if you're watching, hop in the live chat. It's always way more fun when you guys participate, when you guys tell me stuff. And sometimes you guys tell me something and something pops off in my brain, and then I have a new bet ready to go. So also very helpful, and I appreciate you guys. All right, let me pull up the fights, and let's jump into it. Why does it look like that? Okay. There we go. All right, first fight of the night. We've got a rematch. We got Piera Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. Piera, she's going to be 11-2-0, 33 years old. She's 5'3" with a 63.5-inch reach. Hughes on the other side, she's going to be 33, so she's the same age. She's going to be 2 inches taller, though, and she does have a 1-inch reach advantage. So, like I said, this is a rematch. I'm a little confused as to why they made it, but I'll take it, I guess. I don't mind. It'll be an interesting fight. Maybe not the most exciting, but interesting. And it's a fight where, I think I underrate both of these women a lot, especially Piera. I've underrated her a lot. And Hughes, too. Like, if we go through her record, I mean, I bet Dudakova. I think I parlayed Luciano. I did not bet Bannon, thank God. But I did think that line was wide, and she did cover. Uregi, I don't think I bet it, but I did pick against her. And then Amorim, that was really long ago. I honestly don't remember, but I've definitely underrated both of them. And I've been back and forth on this fight. Maybe it's because I taped it in parts. Like I taped. I think it was Hughes first, then Piera, then I went back to Hughes. So I've been kind of all over the place. But their rematch, I mean, their original fight was honestly very helpful. I know that at this point it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's not even on here anymore. Let me just double check that part. Yeah, it was actually longer. It was 3.5 years ago, their first fight. But, I'll talk about everything, but out of the two of them, who do I think has improved the most since that fight? Like, I do think it's Hughes. I feel like she's the one who took a step up in levels, whereas Piera has gotten better, but I would say that she hasn't really taken a gigantic step up, whereas Hughes does seem to have stepped up a bit. Now, as for their first fight, I remembered it really differently. I remember just Piera just completely outgrinding her and taking her down and stuff. And honestly, it wasn't even really the takedowns alone that got her that fight because she couldn't hold Hughes down. She did take her down. I think it was like 8 times. I think it was 6 or 8 times she took Hughes down, but she couldn't establish control. She could not consolidate control at all. Hughes was able to get back up quickly pretty much every time. And I don't think in a single round, Piera got more than about a minute of control time. So it wasn't even the grappling necessarily that got it done. It was a mix of the fact that she was getting takedowns, and then she was also doing better work in the clinch. She did land a lot of strikes in the clinch. She was a little bit stronger than Sam in the clinch. But watching that back, like first off, something that stood out to me was that Piera, she got really tired. She got really tired in round 3. And I don't think of Piera as gassy. I don't consider her gassy. I don't consider her a fighter with cardio problems. But when you look at Hughes and the people that she beats, it's normally a very specific kind of fighter, right? It's usually somebody with cardio problems or somebody who is very striker heavy and doesn't have counter grappling, or a combination of both. That's usually who she's beating. And anybody who's skilled enough, or just anybody who's skilled and can also keep a fight on the feet and has cardio, they're going to beat her most of the time. She's still improved. Like I said, she has gotten a lot better, and I do think she's going to continue to get a lot of wins, and she's already beaten a couple prospects. Dudakova, when she fought her, was a prospect. It was Dudakova. Yeah. Dudakova, when she fought her, was a relative prospect. Luciano was definitely a prospect when she fought her, and she was kind of able to set them back. I think that her striking has gotten a little bit better. I think it's about the same, though. It's still kind of meat and potatoes, but in a good way. She does the basics. She's not doing stupid things that she's not good at, like spinning, thank God. And she's putting together pretty good combinations. She's working off of her jab well. She is getting better and stronger in the clinch. I think in general, she seems a lot stronger to me. Her offensive and defensive wrestling has improved. So there's a lot to like about Hughes, I think, going into this rematch. And then with Piera, I also want to give her credit where credit's due. I tried to fade her with Sousa. I think I parlayed Josephine Knudsen at chalk too, which was a terrible bet. I don't think I bet Carnelossi, thankfully, but even though Piera did lose that one by DQ, that was silly. But either way, I do want to give Piera credit. She is a good wrestler, and she has improved her game a little bit. I think that her striking has gotten better since the first time she's fought Sam Hughes, but I don't think it's a tremendous difference. So overall, I feel like not a ton has changed from the first fight, other than Sam maybe getting a little bit more physical, a little bit stronger, and her grappling getting better. But her grappling getting better is a pretty big deal when the first fight was already close. Hughes did win a round, the third round. Some people felt like she won the first, and I don't think it would have been a robbery had she been given that first round. And a big thing that she lost in that first fight, right, outside of getting taken down, was also the clinch. So going into this rematch, I think she's improved in the clinch. I think she's stronger too, which is going to be important there. And like I said, I think her takedown defense and counter grappling has gotten better. So I do think Hughes has a really good shot. I think that the line is probably about accurate, and because of that, I'm going to have to pick Piera, because it wouldn't make sense for me to say that the line is accurate and then to pick Hughes. But I do think the value, I think the line's accurate, but I'm assuming some more money is going to come in on Piera. And in that case, I think we might have a good spot here with Hughes. I think the value might be on her, but we're going to need a little bit more, I think, because right now I feel like the line is just about where it should be. And because of that, for now, I'm going to be passing. As always, if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, you can only get those at the House of Stims Discord. Link in the description of this video. I will see what I can do to make that happen, brother. No, that's true. RDR is a very strange person to fight. Goldie's saying Piera Rodriguez is a lock. She's improved a lot since her first fight and ultimately better everywhere. I don't know if I'm ready to say she's a better striker. Like, I feel like neither of them excel in striking, and I feel like they're pretty similar there. But Hughes is going to throw more, which is pretty important for me in a close fight. So I guess that's how I feel about that. I just feel like Sam Hughes a dog odds again here is a trap. I don't really believe in trap bets. I don't really think that's a thing. Books are ultimately just looking to balance balance both sides. They're not really trying to trap you. They're trying to get action on both Hughes and Piera to the point where they don't have to worry about who wins. They can just take the vig. I love Rodriguez's activity. I mean, Hughes has been active, unless you mean like output, but like Piera doesn't throw a lot of output. But either way, let's move on. I will pick Piera. I think slight favorite makes sense. Next up, we have Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. Smith, 9-1-0, 23 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. On the other side, Su Young Yu, he's going to be 16-3-0. He's 30. He's 7 years older. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, though, and he has given up 6 inches in reach. So, interesting matchup. And I think that I don't want to underrate Smith. I did try to fade him with Vince Morales, and we got close in round 3. I don't even remember if I bet the money line on Morales. I know for sure that I had the sports book, and I read Drinking No Things' comment, and then I just said it. But I know I for sure had the round 3 submission, and I think I had sub or something along those lines, or 2-3 sub on Morales. I don't remember if I had the money line or not, but I did try to fade him to an extent, Smith. But I don't want to underrate him. Like, he's very athletic. He's clearly very talented. He's only 23 years old. He's big for the division. He's strong for the division. He's a good striker. He's a good offensive wrestler. And he's getting better at every fight. He's definitely improving. And I think he's going to be a really good fighter. But I still think he's very green. That's what's big for me in this fight, is I feel like he's still really green. And I feel like Su Young Yu is not green. I don't think he's green. I think that he is lacking a little bit in the striking. I think that if he can't take Smith down, he's going to struggle a little bit, at least early, because Smith is explosive. He is powerful. He does hit hard. And like I said, he is the cleaner striker, I think. Su Young Yu does do certain good things on the feet, like against Long. I thought some of his combinations were actually surprisingly nice. Like, he had a nice 1-2 down the pipe. That was clean. He was working the jab well. His combinations were good. Output could have been better, especially against somebody as hittable as Long. But his striking was solid. Like, I think he'll be competitive on the feet with Smith, but I don't think it'll be smart to stay there long, because Smith is the better striker, and he's also going to hit a lot harder. And Yu's defense is decent. Like, he's got decent range management, but he's going to be hittable, I think, to an extent in this fight. And I think Smith is going to land a lot. So Yu is going to have to really use his striking only to set up the grappling. And that's kind of what he does. You don't really see this guy try to come out there and only strike, even against Long. I know he didn't get any takedowns, but he did try. He did try to take Long down. It didn't work out. So he's like, okay, I'm going to have to strike with this guy. I didn't love him taking like 40 elbows in a row in round 3 at the end. But I did think overall that the striking wasn't that terrible. I was just a little bit surprised he couldn't take Long down really even one time. But overall, I do think that Yu is a good wrestler. I think his entries are actually quite nice. I think on top, he's pretty damn good. He's got good control. He's got good jiu-jitsu. The ground and pound is solid too. He hasn't really been finishing guys in the UFC, but I do think he's a good grappler, and I think he's very tricky to deal with when you're underneath him. And with Smith, I just think he's very green specifically in the grappling. And I do think that if you start taking him down, I think that Smith has shown certain good things. Like against Morales, he was able to fight out of really tight submission attempts. That's good. But he also put himself there, which isn't as good. And he did pop up relatively quickly, but I think that Yu is a better grappler than Morales, and I think Yu has better top pressure than Morales and better control. So I don't think that it's going to be as easy for Smith to get back up to his feet, and I do think he's going to make mistakes again. I really do. And the other thing I wanted to mention with Smith is just the cardio kind of. I do think his cardio, like, that's easily something he can fix, right? Athletic guy, young guy. He's only 23. He can fix his cardio, but right now, maybe it's cardio, maybe it's just cardio management. I don't know which one of those it is. Maybe he just goes too hard in the first few rounds. Maybe he's kind of putting too much into his punches because he does hit hard, and you can kind of see he's putting a lot of power into it. But overall, I do think he slows down. I think Yu does not slow down. I think his cardio is good. So I think Yu can beat him through the grappling. I think he can tire him out. I don't think he's going to break him necessarily, as in getting a late finish, but I think he can take over after maybe losing the first round or after maybe a close first round. So I'm going to actually pick Yu here. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the young guy gets it done. It's hard to get in front of Smith because he is still a young prospect, and I do think he's a good one, and I do think he has a high ceiling. But I think right now Yu might be a little bit tricky, and I also think this price is a little bit absurd. So we're gonna rock with Yu, and we can move on. Let me catch up with the chat first. So Drinking No Things saying Couch knows how sportsbook work. Sharp. That's half of the game there. I sure hope so. I've been doing this for a while at this point. I think it's been 5 years of the gambling, tracked at least, maybe 5.5 untracked. I started in COVID time in gambling and podcasting. But yeah, been trying to figure it out. Smith points odds are crazy. What are they? I didn't even look at Smith's decision prop. Plus 125. I mean, that is pretty close. Unless you just mean the money line is crazy, but what's up, K-Bands? All right. Next up, we've got Bia Mesquita versus Monste Rendon. Mesquita, she's going to be 6-0 undefeated, 34 years old. There's no chance she's 5'4", so I'm not saying it. We're going to call her 5'6". And she's got a 67.5-inch reach. And Rendon on the other side, 7-1-0. She's 36 years old, so she's going to be 2 years older. She's going to be allegedly 4 inches taller. I think it's closer to 2 or 1. And she's going to have about the same reach. So I was on Mesquita KO last time out, and it was a really, really frustrating loss because she got positionally dominant multiple times, and she was reigning ground and pound, but the ref just wasn't calling it. So she was like, okay, I give up. Like, to me, it seemed like she wanted that TKO. She wanted that KO, but the ref wasn't giving it to her. So she said, okay, I'm going to take the sub, and she got it. I think she's a really good grappler. I think she's actually a pretty decent striker. It's still a work in progress. She's still very, very green in MMA. Only got into it in 2024, but her jiu-jitsu is very good. Her offensive wrestling is pretty solid. She seems strong. She seems physical. She's clearly athletic. And like I said, the striking is decent for somebody in her stage of her career, considering she's a jiu-jitsu woman and she's only been fighting for just about 2 years. It's impressive, but she's also not the best striker in the world. I'm not going to come out here and pretend she's like an elite boxer. She's not, but she's decent. And she's got some pop to her punch. She's very strong too. You can see that. And then with Rendon, she's big. She's physical. She's good in the clinch. She's a solid grappler, but I think she's kind of slow and plotty. I think that she's kind of easy to figure out. She's not a super complicated fighter. You don't have to, tape study for years and months and really bring in special training partners to deal with her. I don't think you need all that. Just work on your game, work on how you're going to take her down, and work on what you're going to do if you cannot take her down. Because Rendon can possibly match her in the clinch, maybe even beat her in the clinch. She might be more strong. She might be a little bit, we know she's going to be bigger. But is she going to take her down? Because that's what Rendon does when she's uncomfortable. She'll go to the grappling, but that would be a huge mistake to take down Mesquita. So I don't think she's going to take her down. If she does, good luck. And then I don't know that she's going to just be able to outstrike her without having to deal with Mesquita trying to drag her down. And if she can completely stuff all takedown attempts and completely avoid the grappling, yeah, Rendon, I think, could win this fight. I do think it's possible, but I don't think she's going to stuff all the grappling. I think Mesquita is going to be just too much. And we're going to go Mesquita. We'll go round 2 sub. Next up, we've got Luan Lacerda versus Hecher Sousa. Lacerda, he's going to be 13-3-0, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 71.5-inch reach. On the other side, Sosa, 14-1-0. He's 30. He's going to be 5'8", so he's 1 inch taller. I don't have his reach up here, but I bet they have it on UFC stats. 70-inch reach, so he's given up 1.5 to 2 inches of reach. So Sosa's somebody who I underrated going into the Contender Series. I did bet on the guy he fought, Maxim Lee. I just felt like Maxim was a little bit more of a prospect. I felt like I knew he was a big dude, and I thought he was good. I don't know if Lee was just a fraud. I don't know if Sosa is just that good. I don't really know how to balance that, but I'm going to try to do my best. So I do think that Sosa's better than I gave him credit for going on to the Contender Series. I was watching his tape, and first off, he's a smart fighter. He has good fight IQ. He makes good decisions. He knows if he's fighting a grappler, maybe it's better that I don't take them down. Maybe it's better that I don't push the grappling. I'll clinch a little bit, but then I'll strike. And then when he's fighting strikers, he'll grapple. So he does seem to have good fight IQ. But I will say that while he does seem so far to be pretty good in the grappling, both on top and when he has been put on bottom, I really only saw it against Grunwald. He does seem good, and against Grunwald, he did pop right back up. But when he popped up, he gave up the gilly, and Grunwald jumped it, and it did seem tight. I don't know how tight. It did seem tight to me, and it did seem like the kind of choke that if Lacerda jumped that gilly, like he was probably going to finish that. So that was a little bit of a concern, and it does concern me a little bit that I've never really seen Sosa deal with a grappler like Lacerda, or realistically anything close. He hasn't. So that's a little bit of a concern going into this fight. But I do think relatively highly of him, honestly. Like 30 is a little bit old for a debut to say he's like a prospect, but he could be. He could be. Bantamweight, 30 years old, that's tricky, but he could be. And he's well-rounded. I think that's good. I think that his wrestling is pretty good. Again, might be tricky doing that here against Lacerda because he's really dangerous off of his back and on top, and he can reverse position too. He could sweep. So it's risky taking him down. And then I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, so let's say Sosa either takes him down once, doesn't like it, or decides it's not smart to take him down. What's going to happen then, right? So in the clinch, I think Sosa's stronger. I think he's better in the clinch. I think he can win there. At range is kind of where I'm like questioning it because I do lean towards Sosa maybe being a better striker, but like based off of what really, Lacerda came in there, I think it was short notice against Stamen, and he outstruck him for the most part, and he looked great in that fight, and his striking looked pretty good. His counters were good. He's good in the pocket. His boxing is solid. His kicks are very good. So his striking's good, and I can't really say that Sosa does anything all that much better than him in the striking, but my gut reaction is that Sosa's a little bit better, but at the same time, I'm also looking at him and like against Grunwald, for example, in the third round, he slowed down pretty hard, and he was really hittable, and he was pretty flat-footed, and Lacerda could land on him, and Lacerda's cardio is not the best either. He seemed to have gotten a little bit tired against Oliveira, but he went a hard 3 with Stamen, and again, I think that was on short notice, and he won that third round. So I think this fight's going to be close, is I guess what I'm kind of getting at. I think this fight's going to be close. I think that I lean towards Sosa just for the fact that I think he's a little bit more well-rounded. I think that I trust him just a little bit more, and I think that comes from the fact that Lacerda, so since the Blackshear fight, I think that was 2023 or 2022, since that fight, he's fought once, right? Against Oliveira in last year. Sosa's fought 9 times in the same period of time, plus a month. He's fought 9 times. So that's why I kind of feel more comfortable trusting him, is because, okay, I got this guy. He's 3 years younger. He's 30, but he's still younger. He's training at Bang Tao. Seems to be surrounding himself with good people. Staying very, very active. Seems very hungry. Seems very motivated. And with Lacerda, I don't really know what's going on with him. I was looking into why he was out for so long between the Blackshear and the Oliveira fight. Apparently, it was like it had nothing to do with injury. Apparently, it was just like life stuff. He was struggling with money and whatnot, and those kinds of things, and that can get that can get dicey for somebody, and that can affect their training and everything. And yeah, overall, I just think that I lean towards Sosa. I do think Sosa's going to find a way to get it done. I lean towards it being a decision. I think round 1 is going to be close and very dicey. I think Lacerda is going to put Sosa in some positions, especially if Sosa makes the mistake of grappling him. I do think Sosa's got the good enough fight IQ to, be smart enough to know he shouldn't do that. But then I just worry that he might not be able to outstrike Lacerda, because I know he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but Lacerda's a decent striker too. So overall, I'm going to pick Sosa. I don't blame anybody for taking the dog shot on Lacerda, but I will say some of the props do stick out. Like the totals stick out, the overs stick out, props related to the overs and Sosa stick out. So that's going to be the stuff that I look at, I think. Let me catch up with the chat, and then we're going to move on. Intrusive Thoughts want me to bet Lacerda. I don't blame you or your intrusive thoughts, honestly. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think it's a reasonable bet for all the reasons I just said. What's good, Dravi? Good to see you in here, bro. Facts. We say, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because I'm going to sound like Peg. Okay. Next up, we've got Bolaji Oki versus Manoel Sosa. Oki, he's 10-3 and 30 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Sosa, 13-1-0. He's 28. He's going to be 2 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's given up 3 inches in reach. So, good fight. Good fight. I do think this line's absurd. I'll talk about it now, but I just think it's a crazy line. And you guys know me. If you watch my stuff, you know I'm not high on Oki. I'm not. I've tried to fade him many times. I bet on Jones, I think, by sub in round 2 and 3, and of course he gets a TKO. I think I bet Aswell. I think I bet Duncan. No, I know I bet Duncan. I think I bet Kawamba, and I don't think I did anything there, but I've never been super high on him just because I felt that he's very green, particularly in the grappling. That's the thing I want to point out is I've been low on him, but mostly because I felt like he was green in the grappling, and I don't really think that's a huge problem here because Sosa is not good at grappling either. Offensively, he's actually decent. It was this fight here, Barros. He actually showed some pretty good wrestling and pretty good very good ground and pound, I would say, and some solid control in that fight. So I do think he's improved in that aspect, but like his takedown defense is still pretty poor. We saw that in the Contender Series. And what was his name? This guy, Perez. I was on Perez. I took a 1 unit bet on him. I think like +2 something. And he was winning the whole fight, completely out-grappled Sosa. Showed that Sosa has improved in the grappling, but not enough. Not really enough for the UFC level. But then he got tired, and Sosa showed that if you're going to get tired against me, I'm going to break you and I'm going to knock you out. And he did exactly that. And Sosa is a really good fighter. I do think very highly of this guy. I think I bet him against Colgan in that fight he lost. We all know that about the Mauricio Hufi knockout, obviously aging very well. And he's a guy who's very strong, very built. He's got a lot of power on the feet. He's knocking guys out left and right. He's got all the hardware. And like I said, he's improving a little bit in the grappling, but his counter grappling is very poor. I do think out of the two of them, if anybody's going to have more wrestling success, I lean towards it being Oki, but I don't really expect either of them to wrestle all that much. I think Oki will maybe shoot once or twice, maybe get one. I don't expect him to do a ton with it, but primarily I think he's going to play on the feet. And one issue I do have with Sosa is I think his output is lacking a little bit. I think that he's looking to counter and land that big knockout, that big highlight reel KO. And I think he's doing that a little bit too much, and he's letting fights kind of slip away from him at times, and at least the output. So that's a concern. And I do worry a little bit that he puts a little bit too much into his shots sometimes and slows down a little bit, but I don't really think the cardio is a major problem with him. So I'm not going to put that against him. I think here he's the more powerful guy. But like Oki also hits hard, and Oki's also a powerful dude on the feet. And I do think that out of the two of them, who's more likely for the KO, it's Sosa. But I wouldn't count out Oki completely. I know that Sosa seems more durable. He's been hurt less, that's for sure. So he can probably take a punch better. That makes sense. But I think Oki can hit him pretty hard too. And I wouldn't be super shocked if Oki did rock him. And I think that out of the two of them, Oki also has better output. I think that's just a fact. He does throw a lot more. And I just like his long-range weapons better, too. Oki will actually keep things straight. You know, he'll jab straight. He'll throw a 1-2 straight. Sosa is almost purely hooks. He's got a good jab, but it's a lot of big, wound-up shots. And I think Oki's just going to be a little bit smoother on the feet out of the two of them. So overall, I'll still pick Sousa. I think ultimately the hardware is going to get it done. I think ultimately he'll find the button, maybe. I'm like not super confident about it. And I do think from a betting perspective, it's a tremendous dogger pass. I think Oki plus 200 and more is a little bit crazy. I know that Oki at one point was plus 300. That was just absurd. So I do feel like the line is wide. I don't think it makes a ton of sense to me. I think it could be a little bit shorter. But I guess overall, like I'll pick Sosa. I don't really know what round, honestly. Like I don't think Oki is gassy, so I don't think I should go round 3. I guess I'll go round 1, and then if not, I think Oki will maybe separate. It's a dogger pass. That much I'll say. This one, not a dogger pass for me. We got Chris Curtis versus Myktybek Orolbai. Curtis, 32, 12, and 38 years old, 5'10" with a 75.5-inch reach. Orolbai, 15, 2, and 1. He's 28, so he's 10 years younger. He's going to be the same height. and he's going to be he's going to have an 1.5 inch reach disadvantage. So another fight where Orolbai is fighting a former 185er. And Orolbai himself is a former 155er. I guess he ended up moving up after all. I guess the weight cut was too much for him. I hope he ends up going back down because I think welterweight, he stands out a little bit less than he stood out at lightweight. But so far, so good. I mean, knocking out Hermansson in the first round is really impressive, even though Hermansson's towards the tail end of his career. Still really impressive. But again, he's fighting a guy who also is, in my opinion, towards the tail end of his career. I've never been extremely high on Chris Curtis. I do respect his skills. I think he's a good boxer. I think he's a very good boxer. I think that he has power. And I think that his takedown defense is solid, but also really overrated. I'll say that much. And I also think that he just gets really emotional, like way too emotional. And he's another guy like Marlon Vera, where I said the same thing when Vera fought Martinez. Like, he'll come out there, he won't do enough, and then he'll cry about it and scream about it and get mad at everybody in the world, the judges, the fans, everybody, except for himself. Don't love that in a fighter. I'll say that. But for this one, for me, like I said, I think Curtis, while his takedown defense is good, it's overrated. I think Orolbai is a very good wrestler. I think Orolbai is very strong and physical, even at 170. And I do think he's going to take Chris Curtis down. I don't think he's going to struggle a ton with it. And I do think that's something that's going to help him win this fight. But on the feet, too, you know, Chris Curtis, yes, he's a really good boxer. He's definitely the better boxer, the better striker out of the two of them. But he's getting up there in age. He's 38 years old. I know he's been very, very durable, but I think that's going to start to go too. And I just think that Orolbai is going to be able to compete on the feet. I mean, Max Griffin competed with him. I don't see why Orolbai can't, and I think he's going to. I wouldn't be shocked if Orolbai knocked him out. The guy clearly has power. If he came up a weight class and knocked out a former 185er in Hermansson, maybe Hermansson was kind of, you know, he cut a lot of weight to get down to 170. Maybe that's why. And Chris Curtis, he actually has more fights at welterweight. It's not his first one. So maybe he's going to be okay. Maybe he does go to a decision. But I think ultimately I got to pick Orolbai. Just way more ways to win. He's 10 years younger. And I'm going to lean towards the decision, but I would not be shocked if he finished Chris Curtis either. All right, next up, we've got Brad Tavares versus Erik Anders. Brad, he's going to be 21-11-0, 38 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. On the other side, Anders, 17-9-0. He's 38 as well. He's going to be the same height, and he's only going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So, speaking of fights I didn't tape yet. I did not tape this fight yet. Did not have the time, and it was on the least of my priorities list because I'm not betting this fight. There's no shot. Like, I'm not betting this fight unless I tape it. I'm like, wow, Erik Anders should not be the underdog, which I don't think I'm going to come out here and say. Maybe I'll say, like, maybe he should be pick him, but I highly doubt that I'm going to come out there and find value on Anders. So, and I'm definitely not betting Tavares at chalk. Like, there's just no way. So I'm probably just going to pass on it altogether. Again, we'll see what happens when I tape it, but I'll give you guys my thoughts pre-tape. Pre-tape, feel like it's a fight that Tavares should get it done. He seems a little bit less washed to me. I know he got knocked out by Brishik, but like Brishik, first of all, he looked pretty good in that fight. And Brishik also hits very hard. Anders has some power, but I don't think he's the hardest hitter. I know he knocked out Weidman. I still don't think he's like a huge power puncher, and I don't think he knocks out Tavares at a super high rate. And Anders, like, what's he strongest at? It's mostly the clinch and the grappling, right? I think he could beat Tavares in the clinch, just off memory. I do think that could be something. And maybe he can take him down, but Tavares historically has very good takedown defense. That hasn't really changed, and I don't think that Anders is going to be the one who comes out there and shows like, oh, yeah, this guy's takedown defense isn't what it used to be. I don't really think so. So I expect a close fight. I don't really trust either guy. I think both guys are washed. I think both guys are close to retirement, and because of that, these lines don't interest me. It's a very close line, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, Tavares minus 135, minus 140. Like, I'm not betting that, but I also don't really want to bet Anders plus 110. So pre-tape, I'll pick Tavares decision, and we can move on. Next up, we've got Bruno Silva versus Charles Johnson. Silva, he's going to be 15-7-2. He's 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. On the other side, Johnson, 18-8-0. He's 35 as well. He's going to be 5 inches taller, and he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. So, interesting fight. I think that it's kind of silly and ridiculous that Charles Johnson is coming back after 5 weeks after being knocked out by Alex Perez. He got knocked out bad. He got hurt bad. And, like, when the fight was ended, he literally didn't even know it was over. He was chasing after Perez still. Like, that was a pretty bad finish. And now he's coming back 5 weeks later, literally just over a month. And like, I know that Bruno Silva is not Francis Ngannou, but like, Silva actually hits pretty hard for the division. I think I remember when I was watching the tape, like one of those stats boxes came up. He was like the top 3 for knockdowns in the division, and I believe it. Like, the guy's got power for the weight class, and I don't know if it's smart of Johnson to come back here and fight so soon after getting knocked out. And also, there's the fact that Johnson only beats prospects apparently, and he doesn't really beat the older guys because it's just, I mean, he beats Loney, he beats Sue, he beats Van, and then he comes out there and gets knocked out in the first round by Perez. But I do think that this line's just too much because of the fact that he's coming back so soon, and also because of the fact, like, when's the last time he really fought a grappler, right? Like an actual grappler. We're talking Estevam years and years ago. And I think it was 2024. And it's like, yeah, he does normally have good get-ups. His takedown defense, like, I'll say it's gotten better over time, but it's still not good. To this day, I don't think it's good. But his get-ups are good. He gets back up. Estevam gave him problems. Estevam has very good top control. And Estevam, I think the difference between him and Silva is also that he seems stronger and more physical than Silva. And he is a guy who I don't think makes weight very easy, whereas Silva, I think, makes weight pretty easy. So overall, I guess my point is just the fact that on top of Johnson coming back too soon, I also think it's not necessarily guaranteed that he can handle the grappling of Silva, because Silva's a good grappler. He has good wrestling. He's got good entries on those takedowns. I actually really like the entries on Park. I thought he did really well there. His jiu-jitsu is very good. He's got good top control. He's got a nice back take. He's quick to finish those subs and lock them in. And I do think that he can either, take down Johnson and maybe establish some control time. I'm also not counting out a club and sub from Silva. Maybe hits him with that uppercut and then takes the back or something. I think that's on the table. But when I went into the tape, I was a lot more interested in the Silva dog shot than I was after the fact, because I just felt like watching it. I do think that Johnson's like a significant margin better on the feet, and we know that he's the taller, rangier guy, and he does use that range pretty well. And Silva does struggle. He struggles at distance because he's so short, because he does have such a short reach. I mean, 66 inches is rough. That's rough, and And Johnson uses that range well. He uses those kicks. He keeps people back. The teep kick, I think, is a really good weapon, and I think it's going to be a good one here. I also think that Charles has really good counters when guys do close that distance, do come into the pocket, into boxing range. I think Johnson has good counters there. And I do think he's going to be a tricky guy for Silva to deal with. I just think this line's kind of absurd when, again, he's coming back 5 weeks after a KO. His grappling, he hasn't faced a real grappler since Estevam. And he also loses round 1 like almost every single fight. So you're betting him at minus 200, knowing that he probably loses round 1. It's going to be like pick him at best on the live line, if not Silva slight favorite. And then he's going to come back and win those second 2 rounds. That's kind of the problem with CJ. That's always been the problem with CJ. But as of now, I am going to stick with him. And I did not end up playing Bruno, but I am going to come back to that fight. All right, now we're up to the main card. We got Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. Petrino, he's going to be 13-2-0, 28 years old, 6'2" with a 77.5-inch reach. Asplund, he's 7-1-0. He's 27, so he's 1 year younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, and he's going to have about the same reach. We'll call it the same. So I know everybody loves Asplund, and he's a lot of fun. I'll say that. He is a lot of fun, and I do think he's talented. I think he's a good striker. I think his boxing's good. I think his output is ridiculous for the weight class. I think he pushes the pace really well. I think he has very good cardio. He is training with a solid training partner in Thomas Peterson, at least good enough to – he's a good partner to work on the thing that Asplund seems weakest at, which is the grappling. He did get taken down and submitted by Denzel back here. And – I do think Asplund's good. I do. I just think to an extent, some people are getting affected by the fan bias because Petrino, I know there's issues with him as well. I know he struggled at light heavyweight with certain guys, with Jacoby when he got knocked out, with Anthony Smith when he got submitted with the guillotine. But like he is overall, I think the better fighter. He's clearly the better athlete, clearly the stronger guy, in my opinion, and clearly the guy with the grappling advantage. And I think that's the most important thing here. On the feet, like I think Petrino's the cleaner striker. I think Asplund throws a lot more volume. I don't really know who hits harder. I lean towards it being Petrino, even at heavyweight, but Asplund hits pretty hard too, so I don't want to count him out. And then the big difference here, I think, is the grappling, right? Again, Freeman's a good wrestler. Maybe he's a better wrestler than Petrino, but I think Petrino's jiu-jitsu is actually pretty good, and I think his wrestling's pretty good too. And I do think realistically, if he does shoot, he's going to take down Asplund. I think there's a pretty high chance of that. Like, if you told me Petrino shoots twice in the fight, I would bet a significant amount of money that he gets at least one of those. And I do think he's going to shoot, so therefore I think he's going to get at least one takedown here. And if he does, I do think he can submit Asplund. But I do wonder what it looks like if the fight gets extended. You know, Peterson started to fight back into that matchup before he ended up getting knocked out late. And Asplund is a guy who will put it on you. And if Petrino's not either taking him down or slowing him down by controlling him in the clinch, Asplund's going to put it on him. And I do think that he can break Petrino. Maybe not break. Maybe that's the wrong word. But I think he can either take over or just overwhelm Petrino. I think that's a better way to say it. I think he does have a very good chance at overwhelming Petrino if he can keep it on the feet. But overall, I do think he's probably going to struggle to do that. So I am going to lean towards Petrino. I think he's the better athlete, better fighter overall at this stage. But I would not be shocked if Asplund came out here and got the upset. I don't think I'm going to be betting Petrino at chalk. I'll say that much. But maybe I get to some form of Asplund. We'll see what happens with the line as the fight goes on. I mean, as the week goes on. I'll go sub round 1 because I think if it doesn't come in round 1, it's going to get dicey. Next up, we've got Marwan Rahiki versus Hardwick. Rahiki, he's going to be 7-0, undefeated. He's 23 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Hardwick, 13-4-1. He's 31 years old, so he's 8 years older. Going to be the same height, though, and he's got about the same reach, just about. So for this one, I haven't fully taped it. And be honest, I started taping it literally right before the show. This is one of the ones that I rushed to do quickly because I just wanted to get an idea of Rahiki. I didn't remember him super well. Hardwick I know very well from Cage Warriors. I didn't really need to rush and go look at him, but I did need to rush and go look at Rahiki before the show just because I wanted to remember. But for this one, like, look, I do think Rahiki's really good. I think he's very clearly, he's got the higher ceiling. I think he's very clearly the better athlete. But I think maybe people are being a little bit too harsh on Hardwick. I really do. Like, sorry if you parlayed him and you lost. Like, I don't even know why you parlayed an underdog. Like, just play the straight. I played him straight, and I'm not blaming him or calling him a bum. So I can't really understand that. And, like, it was always going to be an uphill battle against Cowie. Like, he's not a 55er. He's a 145er. He got the opportunity on short notice, and he took it. Obviously, who wouldn't? Especially after his brother kind of, lost himself that opportunity. I don't think Harry was about to lose himself one too. So he took the fight on short notice, up a weight class, and he tried damn hard. I know that he had no answer for the leg kicks whatsoever, but Cowie is a very clean kickboxer. He's also a 155er. Rahiki is not as clean of a striker as Cowie is. I'm very confident in that. At least not yet. Maybe he will be. He probably will be. He'll be better. But right now, he's not as clean and as smooth and technical as Cowie is, in my opinion. And again, he's not a 155er. Cowie Fernandez is. And that was a lot to ask of Hardwick. And Hardwick still came out there. He was pressuring. And even though his legs were completely done, he was still trying. Like, he did not look for the door until it was absolutely clear that this dude could not stand up. So I think people are being hard on him. I will say that. I think there's a lot to like about Harry Hardwick. He's a great counter grappler. He's a good boxer. He's got very good pressure. He's always moving forward. He's got great cardio. He's very good at breaking guys. He's not the most skilled. He's not the most athletically gifted, but he tries very hard. And we've seen people before that aren't the most athletically gifted, but they worked harder than everybody else and they found success. Look at Bilal. Look at Merab. I know neither of them is champion anymore, but they certainly were. Merab was a very good champion. And I'm not comparing Harry to them. I'm just saying that just because you're not the most athletic doesn't mean you can't come out here and win UFC fights. You absolutely can, and you can actually win the title too if you work hard enough. Now, I don't know that Harry's going to. I don't think he will. I think Rahiki's got better chances of being champion just off of the fact that he's 23 years old. But I do think that Hardwick's being underrated really hard. And I think people are being really, really harsh and not at all considering the circumstances, because I don't think that you can take much from that fight other than the fact that he can't check leg kicks very well. And he probably shouldn't fight at 155 specifically on short notice. But with Rahiki, like, why aren't we being tough on him? Right? I mean, he got knocked down 2 times by Mulumba. And not only did he get knocked down, there was also one point where Mulumba knocked him down. He knocked Mulumba down. They get back on the feet. Rahiki's just like, I forget what he threw. He just completely overextends, puts himself completely out of position, and Mulumba's on his back. You know, like, and he should be minus 300, minus 280. Like, what is he now? I think the line's come down a bit. Minus 265. What did it open at? Oh, it actually opened up minus 175, and then the line came in hard. Yeah, like, he's really green, Rahiki. I think he's really talented, and like I said, he's got a high ceiling, but I think he's really green. His striking defense, he's got tall man's defense. He's gonna have to work on that. That chin is way up. Is Hardwick the guy who's gonna make him pay? Probably not. He's not. He doesn't hit as hard as Mulumba either, so I don't really think Hardwick's gonna knock him down or knock him out. But he's gonna land. It's not hard to land on Rahiki, and I think Hardwick's going to, and he throws a lot of volume too. So I think he is gonna have minutes of the fight where it's like, oh, Hardwick looks good. Like, Hardwick's winning the minutes on the feet. So that's a concern of mine for Rahiki going into this one. And I also feel like Rahiki, like, I don't know how to explain it best, but I just feel like he's green. And I don't think he has to worry about grappling much here. Hardwick is more of a counter grappler. He prefers to strike. He prefers to be the guy just moving forward and throwing. I do wonder how Rahiki's going to handle that, how he's going to handle a high output guy. I haven't really seen him fight somebody like that. But I will say that I do think that in the clinch, Rahiki's going to be better. I think he's got better weapons in the clinch. He's going to be stronger in the clinch. I think Rahiki's going to be better at range. I think he's the faster guy. I think he hits harder out of the two of them. And like I said, I think he has the higher ceiling. So for those reasons, I am going to pick him. I'll pick him by decision. But it's dog or pass. Like I said, I still have to fully tape this one. But I'm pretty confident in my opinion there won't change. Moving on, we've got Andre Fili versus Jose Delgado. Fili is 25, 12, and 0, 35 years old, 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. On the other side, Delgado, he's going to be 10, 2, and 0. He's 27, so he's 8 years younger. He's going to be the same height, which I find hard to believe. I feel like he's taller than Fili, and he's got the same reach. So I faded Delgado with Wood. I played Wood there as an underdog, and it was a good bet, but I did feel like a little lucky. Like, I'm not saying it was a robbery, but it did feel really close, and it did feel like I got a little lucky to cash that one. Maybe not. Wood is very talented, but either way, I'm not really looking to fade Delgado, at least not anytime soon, and I don't think I want to do it with Fili. I think Fili is a really good fighter. I played him against C-Rod because, again, he was a big underdog there, but C-Rod's not threatening, you know, and C-Rod is also a blown-up 135er who doesn't want to cut weight to 135 anymore, so he moved up to 145, and as skilled as he is, that's going to cause him problems, and we're seeing that now in his career where, yeah, he beat prospects and young guys who were green, but he can't beat the vets because he's just undersized, and he doesn't pull away enough. So that was a good win for Fili. It was, but it was also a really different matchup because Delgado's big. Delgado hits really hard, way harder than C-Rod. And Delgado's just way more dynamic and fluid on the feet than C-Rod is too. I think for Fili to win this fight, he's going to have to take Delgado down. I think that Delgado's takedown defense is still a work in progress. And Fili is a good wrestler. That is a good part of his game. But I think Delgado's takedown defense is getting better pretty quickly. I think already it's pretty solid. And I think his get-ups are very good. I think he's hard to hold down. And I don't see Fili like really consolidating top time and really doing good work there. And you know, these days it's not necessarily enough sometimes to control. You got to do more. And I don't really see Fili either, you know, putting in really deep sub attempts or landing really good, significant ground and pound. I don't really see that. So I feel like Fili can pull off the upset. I feel like the margins to do that are really, really thin. Whereas I think Delgado has a lot of room for error here. Like, I think he can mess up multiple times in the fight and still win. Whereas I can't say the same for Fili. I think if Fili messes up, he might get knocked out. I think Delgado's the real deal. I think he's a really good prospect. And I am going to go Delgado KO. We'll go round 2. What's the under there? That makes sense. Minus 180. I was thinking the under because I think they can hurt each other. Because Delgado can be hurt too. We saw that again in the wood fight. And Fili's got power. Fili has power, and Delgado, obviously, we know he can hurt people. So, but all right, that's the pick. We can move on. Next up, we've got Oumar Sy versus Ion Cutelaba. Oumar, he's going to be 12-1-0, 30 years old, 6'4" with an 83-inch reach. Cutelaba on the other side, 19-11-1. He's 32. He's 2 years older. He's going 3 inches shorter, and he's going to be giving up 8 inches in reach. So, again, full transparency. I have not taped this fight yet. Again, it's just another line where it didn't really stand out to me because I don't think I'm going to parlay Oumar, and I don't really want to bet Cutelaba either, although, maybe I could be convinced at plus 210. I'm going to have to look, but it wasn't at the top of my priorities of fights that I wanted to tape. There were ones that I wanted to go through first. So I haven't done this one yet, but pre-tape, I think Oumar being the favorite makes sense. He's just a way bigger guy. He's the younger guy. He's the one who has taken way less damage in his career. He's way less battered. And I do think he's a skilled dude. I think he's I don't know if I'm ready to say he's a better grappler, honestly, because Cutelaba is a good grappler too. That's kind of his strong suit right now. And off the top of my head, I don't really know who's better. I feel like maybe C is heavier on top, maybe better jiu-jitsu. I think that's fair to say. But Cutelaba in his own right is a good wrestler, and who has really tested the grappling of C, defensively? Definitely wasn't Ribeiro. Menefield did not want to grapple him. Not Jung. Tokos he finished. So nobody has really tried to grapple him, and I do wonder what happens if Cutelaba actually comes out there and goes for takedowns. What does he look like off of his back? That's something I'm going to look for when I tape it. What's he look like when he has to stuff takedowns? That's going to be something I look at when I tape it. And if I see that it's never really happened that he had to stuff takedowns, or it's never really happened that he was off of his back, that's going to be something that does make me interested in Cutelaba. Now on the feet, again, off of memory, I feel like maybe C is a little bit cleaner on the feet, but Cutelaba, he'll be in your face, and he's a solid striker in his own right. He throws pretty good output. I did not think he lost that fight to Modestas either. The only thing with Cutelaba is A, he gasses, and B, I feel like his fight IQ is just abysmal. How do you lose a fight by faking getting hurt? Okay, that's probably one of the best signs of bad fight IQ. But I do think that Oumar also slows down, so it'll be an interesting fight. As of now, pre-tape, I'll go Oumar decision, but this is one that I definitely need to look at. Okay, next up, we've got the co-main event of the evening. We've got a rebooked fight, and I normally stay away from rebooked fights from a betting perspective just because I feel like they're really tricky. But anyways, we have Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. Lemos, 15-5-1. She's 38 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. Robertson, she's 16-8-0. She's 30 years old. She's 8 years younger. She's going to be 1 inch taller, and she's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So the breakdown hasn't really changed from the first time. Relatively binary fight. Lemos very clearly the better striker. Lemos pretty clearly the stronger woman. Lemos, in my opinion, better in the clinch and clearly hits harder out of the two of them. But Lemos also poor fight IQ. Robertson definitely smarter in the cage. Lemos will do stupid things like jump gilly. That can definitely cost her here, and I would not count her out for doing that. Lemos does make a lot of errors and a lot of bad decisions, and Lemos can be taken down. I do think that her takedown defense is actually pretty good, and I think it's underrated at times. And, her stuffing, I think Suarez went 3 out of 11 on takedowns. That's pretty impressive from Lemos, in my opinion. And her get-ups are pretty good, too. She's not terrible getting back up to her feet, but I will say that against good grapplers, she can get stuck. And I think that's going to be probably what happens here. I feel like she's going to get stuck because on the feet, like I said, Lemos a better striker. Jillian, she's been working on it. She does seem to have improved a little bit in the striking, but I don't think it's enough. I still think she's really hittable. I still think she's really uncomfortable on the feet. And if she's on the feet with Lemos for a prolonged period of time, I think she'll be in trouble because I think Lemos's power is going to be a lot for her to deal with. And I just don't think Robertson's going to have much of an answer on the feet in the stand-up. So she's going to need those takedowns. I do lean towards her getting them, whether it's just off of her grappling being good enough to get the takedown or whether it's off of Lemos making a mistake. Could be a mixture of both. I think she's going to get those takedowns. And I think on top, she's going to be a lot for Lemos to deal with. I think Robertson has really improved that portion of her game, that when she takes people down, she's actually trying to finish the fight. The ground and pound is great. She's mixing in elbows. Her submissions are great. Her jiu-jitsu is nice. And the control is getting better and better. And she also seems stronger and more physical these days. So I think in this fight, we see another Jillian decision. I don't really think she's going to finish Lemos. Maybe Lemos is going to make a mistake and Robertson can lock something in, but I don't really think she's going to. I think Jillian wins the decision. Just top times her. And that's where I'm at there. Jimmy, what's up, Jimmy? I don't do that kind of thing. There's no safe parlay pick. That's why people who parlay lose all the time. You will not find a person who only parlays who's long-term profitable, because there are none. There are none. There used to be one in the space that was pretty big, and he's gone. Why? Because it doesn't work. Parlay. That's why casinos and sports books are profitable, because people come out here and they think there's such a thing as a safe parlay pick, especially in MMA, and then they lose their parlay. And I'm a person who's been learning this for about 5 years now. I still parlay and lose sometimes, but I don't think that you can. I don't think you have to never do it. I'm certainly going to continue to do it when I think it's appropriate, but you have to understand there's no such thing as a safe bet, A, and B, there's definitely no such thing as a safe bet in MMA, and C, there's definitely no such thing as a safe parlay leg in MMA. But if you put a gun to my head and said, Mike, give me a parlay, I mean, I guess, like I almost said Mesquita, but at minus 600, no. Like, I don't hate Sosa, but I think Lacerda is a tricky matchup. Orolbai, I'm okay with. I'm okay with that one. And, like, I guess I'm okay with Delgado. But, like, not really. Minus 340, Delgado's, like, not my thing. But, yeah, gun to my head, those are probably the two. And, like, maybe Vallejos, maybe. But like he's minus 650 against Emmett. We'll talk about it in a second. She can ground and pound her, but I have a hard time imagining her actually TKOing her. But I guess I could see it. I bet like the minimum amount because it's way too risky. Yeah, I mean, gambling in general is a very risky thing. Only bet what you can afford to lose. It's key. And if the only way you can really bet is a small parlay here and there, I can't blame you. But I don't really believe in safe picks, but my most confident, I guess, would be Delgado and Orolbai, I guess. But anyways, moving on, we've got Kevin Vallejos versus Josh Emmett for the main event. Emmett, he's going to be 19-6-0, 41 years old, 5'6" with the 70-inch reach. On the other side, Vallejos, he's going to be 17-1-0, 24. He's 17 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So I won't waste a ton of time on this one, just because at the end of the day, like, I think Vallejos is going to win. I think being that young with that much hardware and that much skills, like, it's going to get you through spots like this where you have a guy in Emmett who has been at the top of the division for a long time, has never really broken through, but has been damn close. And I do think Emmett is a really good fighter. I just think he's washed at this point. I really do. He's 41 years old. He's taken a tremendous amount of damage, and no human would be okay after all that damage. So it's reasonable that he's I think he's close to done. And I think he probably retires after this fight, at least if he loses it. He's obviously still a good striker. I think his output is not the best. That's kind of been a problem I've had with Emmett throughout the years. His output's not great. A lot of the times he's looking for that big counter, but he is a good striker. And I don't think Vallejos is leaps and bounds better than him, but he is faster. He probably doesn't hit harder than Emmett. I don't know if anybody does in the weight class, but he does hit hard in his own right. He is very durable. I would say he's more durable than Emmett at this stage of his career, and I'm quite confident in that. And I think the speed will also give Emmett some problems. Now, I don't know what Vallejos is going to look like in round 4 and 5 if we get there, But I also don't really expect Emmett to have banked any of the first 3 rounds to the point where that's going to matter that much. And I don't really think Vallejos is going to just fall apart and then Emmett can just, finish him. I don't really think a late finish like that will happen. Don't get me wrong. I think Emmett can catch him at any point because it's Emmett and he hits ridiculously hard. But my point is I don't think it'll happen because of cardio. Like, I don't think Vallejos is going to gas that bad. Even though he's untested in 4 or 5 rounds, I don't think he's going to be, completely out of it when we get there to the point where he's looking for the door. I really don't think so. So if Emmett does get the KO, I think it can really happen at any point of the fight because of who he is and because of how he hits. But ultimately, I think Vallejos is just too clean, too talented, too young, and too durable for Emmett to get the upset here. I think there's a chance, but I think the line is it's crazy to say it's reasonable, but it makes sense to me, I guess is my point. And it does make sense to me. I didn't look at the line and I was like, whoa, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't have that reaction. And after taping it, I feel okay with it. So it's going to be Vallejos for me. Maybe he knocks out Emmett. I don't know. Emmett seems like he can still take a punch to me. I know he got submitted by Zalal here, but he's still taking shots well. This was such a crazy knockout. So, I mean, not that he's taking shots super well, but he's still holding up, is my point. But I guess I'll go Vallejos KO. Maybe round. Nah, I'm going to go decision. I'll go decision. Just because I don't want to pick around. But, all right. Let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll jump on out of here. Bill Fay saying, Vallejos, Mesquita, Tapuria parlay. You going to lock up your money to the White House card? 17 years younger is crazy. I think we had the exact same age difference with Rosas Jr. and Font, if I remember correctly. And Jimmy, for his parlay, is thinking Vallejos, Delgado, and Orolbai, and Rahiki. If I was to pass on any of those, I would say pass on Rahiki. I think people are underrating Hardwick a little bit too much. And even if Rahiki does come out there and knock out Hardwick, okay. And you missed out at a minus 265 parlay, you'll live. You'll live. So I think maybe that's smart, but by all means, bet what you'd like. Under 3.5 seems live. Yeah, it does. For the main, yeah. Let me see what the number is there. That's not bad at all. I have not been good with unders this year, so I'm trying to be careful. And I just got scarred with the main event with Holloway and Max, but that was a very different fight. So that is going to be something I'll think about. Thank you, Drinking No Things. But all right, guys, that's it. That is UFC Vegas 114. I'll run through my picks one more time, and then we'll get on out of here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate all your support, and I'm very grateful that you guys were in the chat with me. Always makes it better. For picks, we're going Piera, Dogger Pass. We're going you, Mesquita, Sosa, Sousa, Dogger Pass, Orolbai, pre-tape Tavares, Johnson, Dogger Pass, Petrino, Dogger Pass, Rahiki, Dogger Pass, Delgado, C, but I still have to tape it, Robertson, and Vallejos. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out, and good luck this weekend.